Hey guys, here Jalen from TBI Infinity, bring you guys a construct mix deck profile. I know I haven't kept you up to date. That like, oh man, I was supposed to do this before Springfest, but then I got so busy. And I also didn't have the deck fully complete until as of today, as I'm recording this. So I really didn't want to do a profile on that really incomplete mess I had before. Uh, but now that it's complete, at least until Buddy Rave, I wanted to profile this, and whenever I get it complete from after the Buddy Rave packs, I'll give you a deck profile on that version. But for now, you get to see post pre Buddy Rave version, which is still pretty good. Um, and I really have a lot of fun using this deck. It's a little spin on what I usually do, because I usually just do pure enemies. I'm always just pure enemies. So now that I'm doing a mixed deck, it's really different for me. So it's giving me a lot more experience with Dungeon, which is a lot more fun for you guys and for myself. Either way, I'm gonna get onto this deck profile. You may have seen other like builds of this kind of deck from people from Singapore and Japan, but gonna be perfectly honest, those builds are like built to try and kill you as fast as possible, or in a sense try to get the same board consistently. Like, I don't know, I can't say I particularly like them. Like, I don't like Gambit in the deck just to recycle Orsur's ability over and over. Like, I don't like, or Tsuku's ability, like all those things you can spam, like the axe and the freaking enter abilities, like, but there are very few cards that can do that, so I just don't find that useful. I don't like 4 Evil Break and all that kind of junk. Anyway, we have the Flag and Buddy. Always got that SP Bleedwing Phoenix as the buddy. 5/2/1 size 2 with the double attack ability for 1 gauge. This is really always going to be a good card. It's really annoying for people who might want to build this deck, because Bladewing is probably going to be the only thing that's going to be really, really hard to find. And just like maybe another deck another card I'm going to mention here, which is going to be really expensive and annoying to find. But if you can try and build this, I would recommend you, not the SP like I have, but just try and get Blade Wings if you can, because if you want to really try out this deck, you really do need Blade Wing to experience all the fun. We have, to start off the deck, we have 4 copies of Mech Army Demon Lord Agosmar. For some reason, this card is like $3 everywhere, and I don't know why. This card is ridiculously good. But it's like, oh, it's not Night Mix, so no one's going to pay attention. It's like, okay, that's stupid. Anyway, 1/1/5 size 0 with the active ability Rest It and call it Construct Monster for your drop zone onto the field for no cast cost, call cost whatsoever. So it's really, really ridiculous. You can call Bladewing for free. You can call Bladewing SD for free. When World Figs comes out, that's gonna be for free. You can call any construct for free. And this thing does have lifelink 1, but the minimalist of lifelink 1 for free monsters is not a big deal. Then onto the size 1s, we have 2 copies of Evil Break. Like I said, I do not like this card at 4. 1, because it's a very bad monster, and that's because without the ability, this thing is just the worst freaking dungeon enemy ever created. 1 gauge for 2/1/2. Other than that, its ability is really great. It lets you search for a staff, aka Adventure Staff Alex Bane, which is the main weapon and the only weapon in this deck. But other than that, this card is just a dead draw once you have an Alex Bane in hand. It's just a bad monster to call. You never want to call it off continue unless you have a lot of gauge and you do need an item because they might have popped it or something. So this is a really bad monster, but it's got a really good ability. Next up, we have 3 copies of Bladewing Phoenix SD. Bladewing Phoenix SD is a 2/2 size 1 with the ability when it enters the field and there's an adventure, I can destroy a monster on my opponent's field. So it's really, really great. It lets me destroy any problematic monsters, size 3, size 2, size 1s, doesn't matter the size, just pop it on enter as long as I have an adventure. So it's really, really great to deal with problematic monsters I don't want to waste time attacking. and it's got a decent 2 grit, so it helps the aggression. And onto the expensive card that I talk about. I talked about briefly earlier. We have 4 copies of Legendary Masai Tsuku. Shout out to Matthew Leba. I wouldn't have gotten literally all 4 of these if it wasn't for him. So shout out to that guy. He's really great. Love trading with that man. Anyway, it's a 5/2/1 size 1 with the ability when it enters the field, you gain a gauge in life, and then when it at the end of the battle, it destroys itself. So it's really great for putting it in the center, because with Alex Bane, I can basically call an Aggle. Like, I have like either this field in general and my Blade Wing and an Alex Bane in the center. So I put Alex Bane in the center, Tsuku in the middle, and Agosmar calls Blade Wing onto the right or something like that. Right, left, it doesn't matter where these two are positioned, as long as Tsuku is in the center. This field is ridiculous because it allows you to have the 8 damage board that I usually can have in this kind of deck, but it also lets me have an Agosmar also on the same field, so it lets me get back the Blade Wing whenever if they choose to attack it, because Blade Wing's practically the first Raging Spirit. It's like, oh no, I can't attack the player. There's a Blade Wing on the field. Gotta kill that first. Anyway, Tsuku's a really great card. It'll help you replenish life. It helps you replenish gauge. So it's a really great card. If you can't get it at 4, I don't blame you. Just try to play like at least 2 if you can find any, and throw in like some other adventure like Tetsuya, because he's really good. And I think I'm gonna throw him in when I can get some Tetsuyas of my own. Thank you, Reprint and Austin Somers. Not really. Anyway, we have 4 copies of Magical Beast Tamer Kazane. I'm still gonna run her. Most people just say, "Oh, she's worse Tetsuya." It's like, no, she actually can do a little more than Tetsuya in this deck, because with Kazane, I can have my perfect 10 10 damage board when I have Blade Wing Phoenix, an item, and her. Yeah, it's like, oh, they counter move the Blade Wing, then that entire play goes out the window. It's like, okay, but if they don't counter move Blade Wing and they're running out of cards, then, well, they get shat on. So, screw you. Even if they don't have counter move and it's just simple shields, like, say, Dragon World, it's like, okay, I get max either 3 or 4 shields out of your hand, or you're taking a lot of damage. So, I don't care. Because with 5 attacks with only 3 cards on board, you're going to be losing shields pretty fast. On to size 2s, we have 2 copies of Inverse Inverse Third Omni Waterlord Dark Miseria, where it's 6/5 Demon Lord, Water, and Dungeon May attribute. So it's not a construct, oh no, but either way, this card's amazing because moving Soul Guard for 2 gauge and just getting a spell, so easy requirements to call, and it gives you life whenever it's destroyed. It has move, so it just cot blocks, and also since it has move, you can put it on the right, attack, and then with their turn, put it in the center, chump block, a bunch of attacks, gain life. It's really good. Recycle, call it back, we continue. Recycle Orser, it's really great. 2 copies of Purgatory Block. It's kind of a filler until Mortal Phoenix, but it's not a bad card. 4/3/4 size 2 with the ability when it attacks and deals damage to my opponent, I can send it to, it's not I can, it is a mandatory ability. I send it to the drop zone, and we both play rock, paper, scissors. Whoever loses, even if we tie, the loser takes 2 damage. So if we tie, we both take 2 damage. So on the first turn, this is really funny because then you can go for 3, and then if you win the rock, paper, scissors, like a god, you deal 5 damage with 1 card. So this card can be very lousy and game changing for my opponent. So they always like, no, I gotta let it die, and then it has constructs so that I can use Agosmar and annoy the crap out of him with it. So it's really funny. For supporting the mixed aspect, we have 3 copies of Magical Fortress Orso Kleins. It has the active ability, I can put an adventure and enemy from my drop zone into the bottom of the deck and gauge and draw. Can only use the ability once per turn, but it's only per card, so if I say call over an Orser for some strange ass reason, maybe call over a different Orser for a continue, or call one from my hand because my hand's really bad. I can do it again until I feel satisfied. This is a really nice card, 425. So it's really annoying if you put it on the right. So then it'll like, oh, I have to use like my whole like most monsters nowadays, unless they're like black dragons, have really weak power if they're size ones. So it's like they would probably have to waste like their very powerful size two to attack this, and then I'm like, okay, that's fine, just chump blocked an attack when it was even in the center. And I can call back when we continue, so it's like, okay, you're kind of wasting even more time for yourself. 4 copies of my buddy, so I'm not going to really get into explanations there because I already talked about him. We have 2 copies of Hidden Crossbow, counter destroy monster, 3,000 less defense. You already know this, you've seen my Demon Lord deck. It's a really great counter removal card, but I like another counter removal card way more in this deck. 3 copies of Quicine to Cassiod. Cassiod is a better white dragon shield where if you have an open center, then you reduce the damage by 3. So it's really great for impact monsters. It's kind of the only way dungeons really deal with impact monsters other than like the counter removal that you have. But most impact monsters have too much defense, so you can't really destroy them with that. Then we have 3 copies of Continue, pay gauge and call it size 2 or less, or adventure or and the size 2 or less dungeon reach for your drop zone by paying their call cost. This, like I said, Tsuku plus Agua's mod makes this free because basically Tsuku pays for the gauge that for this cast cost, and Agua's mod is free to call anyway, and then it gets you another free card. And even with the lifelink 1, Tsuku gives you a life, so it just makes the entire field free and continue essentially free as well. 4 Pillar of Fire. If you have an open center, pay a gauge and destroy a monster with 6,000 or less defense. Very powerful dungeon card. Always been since it came out in the trial deck, and people feared it and even play certain side streets because of it. Then the obvious, always 4 of Null, Divine Protection or Shouts on it, pay a gauge, nullify an attack, and gain a life. Then we have 4 copies of the main weapon and the only weapon, Adventure Staff Alex Bane, 6/2, equip cost to pay 1 gauge, and the ability when there's a dungeon enemy on the field, if it destroys through an attack, if it deals damage or destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it lets me gain a gauge. So it's really, really great. 6,000 power, so it's really, really strong. So it can hit a lot of things. Like a Del Diablos. It can even kill like second Helios. It can hit Ball Burst, Smasher if it stays on field. So it's really, really strong. I really do like this card. I mean, it's the best enemy weapon that you can ask for. It's also adventure attribute, so Orsa can recycle it back, and if I say like something like pops Alex Bane while it's on the field, I can put it back in the deck, gauge and draw, call an evil break, then get the one I put back in my deck, and then just the re-equip one. So it's really, really nice in that sense. Then we have 2 copies of Phoenix Radiation for impacts. This is a really weird but fun impact that I love in this deck. So, I mean, it's gonna go out when I have Immortal Phoenix because this is kind of a worse version because it has 3 gauge, but it doesn't do nearly as much as Immortal Phoenix. But I still really, really, really like this card because it's just so much fun. Anyway, it has the condition of you may only cast this card if you have 5 or less life, you have a dungeon enemy monster on your field, and you have an adventure item equipped. So basically, literally most of my deck, most of my monsters being enemies, and having my item equipped, my usual only item, which is adventure, equipped. And then I have to pay 3 gauge, and I destroy all monsters on my opponent's field and deal 3 damage. So it's really fun. It's really, really cool if you can kill them with the damage, because they just like, oh, I have to block all these attacks, and then it's like, okay, now I drop this. It's like, oh shit. It's like, oh, I messed up. Yeah. Anyway, hope you guys like this video. Subscribe to TBI and Buddyfight for more Buddyfight content, and I hope to see you guys later. Jalen from TBI and Buddyfight going out.